Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm doing a match preview of PSG versus Real Madrid with my friend Rodrigo. We did 2 streams together. I think last season when Chelsea played Real Madrid, they went really well. I still to this day have people asking me like, where's Rodrigo? I want to see him back on the channel. And we finally made it happen. I have to say a massive thank you to him because he literally started recording with me, or he hopped on at 7 a.m. because of the time difference. So I really appreciate it. How's everything going?
It's good. It's good. I'm so glad to be finally back in another video in your channel. It's been, yeah, like you said, a whole year. And I feel like throughout that span of time, like we've talked a lot about, like the sport and everything and about getting back and doing another video. And for some odd reason, we keep like delaying it, or, something would happen and we wouldn't end up doing. But I'm so happy to be back. And for those of you guys that kind of we're asking around, yes, like our account was, it's a long story, but it was kind of shut down for a couple months because copyright reasons, and then we finally came back. So yes, the account is back and running. If you want to go check it out and subscribe.
Nice. Awesome. I'll make sure to put all of your account details. I'm trying to like channel details. That's the word. For your channel in the description as well. So guys, make sure that you check it out. We are going to talk about PSG versus Real Madrid, arguably the biggest game of this next stage of Champions League life. The Champions League is finally back. And we are chatting backstage that you're actually a bit disappointed because Real Madrid initially had a very favorable draw.
Yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions that whole day, essentially. Starting out because, and I was kind of telling Elizabeth this backstage, but the day of the draw, I got up early over here, in Texas where I live. It's the draw was like at 5 a.m. Got up, recorded my like live reactions to that draw, and I was pretty happy because Benfica, appears like a pretty affordable opponent to Madrid, and so I was really happy about that. Like we have a good chance to go move on to the next round. I record, edit, and then I have to go to school. I get to school, and the moment I get there, I start to get all these notifications about the errors that happen in the draw, and that there might be a possibility for a redraw. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, I guess. The 2 teams that I wanted to avoid were Chelsea and PSG. Those were the 2 main teams that I was like, I'd rather just not play against them. Not because I didn't think that we could beat them, but I'd rather just save them for like, like a later stage. Yeah. But to my luck, PSG gets drawn up, and I was pretty beat because I was like, man, like we had a pretty good group stage, and now we come up against a team that, in my opinion, at the beginning of the season was going to be the main contender, if not the second main contender for the Champions League. Obviously, like in my opinion, now that's kind of changed, and we can talk about that a little more as the video kind of moves on. But yeah, in the moment, I was pretty upset. However, I feel like that opinion quickly changed because that same day, once I finally got back from school, I was able to put out another video kind of talking about, like my frustrations about it. And a lot of the optimism from my own subscribers, I feel like, grew on me. And because most of them were like, no, like, this is actually a great opportunity to face up against a huge team. Obviously, like with the whole Mbappe stuff, more to add on to it. Sergio Ramos would recently move to PSG. Like, they were just really hype about taking on a big team and beating them and beating PSG, because I feel like most people feel like this was PSG's Champions League because of the fact that they brought in Messi, Ramos, all these new players, and being given that chance to ruin their kind of dream and like just get in there and say like you forgot about the European champions from Madrid. It's a really cool opportunity. I feel like that has me excited about the matchup ever since.
It's really interesting you say that because when all these big players, I mean, PSG had a massive window and signed a ton of players for free. Messi, Ramos, I know Hakimi also went there.
Ronaldo.
Everybody was saying, like, if they don't win the Champions League this year, they're not going to win it. But I was thinking, you have a team that has a ton of superstars, but they all want to be the star. So how well do they realistically work together, especially in the likes of a Champions League? And then you have Madrid, who I think have more of like that team mentality, and they've had to rebuild a bit after Cristiano Ronaldo left, and now Benzema's kind of the main man, I would say. So how are you feeling with your odds of beating PSG now? And I know that Benzema has been out with an injury. Chances that he's going to be back in time?
Yeah, it's all been once again just a roller coaster, right? A roller coaster from the moment that we drew PSG to this moment, and I knew that was going to happen. And that's why most of the times, whenever these draws happen, I try to not make too many predictions because I know by the time the actual games come around, so many things will have changed, and they have. I feel like, well, one, when the draw happened, most people were like, "Oh, like, well, PSG's doing really bad. Like, their offense is not really working too well," which hasn't improved a whole lot. It's not like I'm over here saying like, "Oh no, now PSG is in full force. Like that front three is working." Neymar is gonna come back to the match, but he's not gonna be really game fit. He hasn't played in a couple months, so I feel like Neymar is not really too much in the back of like Madrid fans' minds. At the same time, us as Madrid fans, we have that kind of slight PTSD with Messi, right? Like that any moment he can do something. But if you look at the stats are something that are showing to us that Messi is perhaps not the biggest threat that we need to be worried about. Obviously, this season in itself, he's only scored 2 goals in the league, and I know he scored against Man City in the Champions League, but aside from that, not too brilliant of performances. But that being said, I want to like warn, all Madrid fans or any future, teams that have to play against Messi. Like, he's the type of player that can do something at any moment. He is a game changer. He was the best player in the world for so long for a reason. And with that being said, like, he knows Madrid very well. He knows he's gonna tell PSG, all the players, like the insides and outs of Madrid and how to beat them and their weaknesses. So he's a player that we need to be very, very careful of. And then to add on to the icing on the cake, you have Mbappe, who even though he's probably 95% shoe in Madrid, to that extent, I still feel like he's gonna want to show what he's got, and he's not gonna care that that's potentially like the team that he's gonna be going up to. He's gonna want to beat them because he's that competitive player. And I mean, Mbappe, he's another level of player in my opinion. So there's that. There's also Di Maria, who is a very, very solid player. And I think actually PSG with Di Maria is better than PSG with Neymar because of the balance that he brings to the team. Not that Di Maria is better individually than Neymar, but Di Maria brings a lot more defense, a lot more he's more of a passer, right? He's not as selfish, and that benefits both Messi and Mbappe a lot more than having Neymar on there would, in my opinion. So there's that aspect of the PSG thing. And I know you also kind of asked me about, the whole Benzema part. So Madrid has also changed a lot. So I kind of just went through like my ideas on PSG. For Madrid's side, there's also been a lot of changes. When the draw happened, I felt like that was probably the best time for Madrid in the season. When we were playing against Inter Milan, we were doing really good. We had just beat Barcelona. Like we were on a high. Most players were kind of like in the best form of the season, but unfortunately, due to lack of depth in the team, the same players have kept on playing and playing and playing, and now, in my opinion, the team starts to show signs of fatigue, a little like burning out. I mean, Benzema getting injured was not a good sign to that, so a little worrying because he's not going to be. Benzema's not. He's going to play. He's going to play. I think they're going to have to risk him because it's the biggest game of the season. But he's not going to be in full force. Even Benzema not in full force can do a lot of damage. However, I don't know. The past couple months, I have been saying it in my channel, Benzema has not been at his best. So that is a little worrying to me. And it's going to kind of come down to how good of a game Cruz, Casemiro, and Modric's going to have because they're really the backbone of the team.
So do you think that Benzema being back in the team could almost not work in Madrid's favor if he's not fully fit and if he hasn't been playing at his highest level? Or do you think that he offers something different for PSG's defense to have to think about, because we know that he can just strike it from anywhere and score a ridiculous goal, and he's still one of the best players in the world?
Right. I have an easy, simple answer to that. And Benzema, even not at his best, is 2 times better than our bench striker. Um, Jovic has had opportunities. He's had games where he gets to play, come in, with 30 minutes left, and I just about every single time, I would say like 1 out of 10 games, 1 out of 5 games, maybe not as harsh. He doesn't show up. Like you completely forget that he's in the game. So that's one bad option. And Ancelotti has been trying so many different options throughout the course of the season to see who could potentially be a replacement for not replacement, but the substitute for Benzema to give him some rest. He's tried Hazard up top as a number 9, and she's had a few good performances, but I mean, even to this point, Hazard scored like 1 goal this whole season, so it's not something that we can really cling on to. He
I
also,
think I saw that goal and I thought it was I think if it's the one I'm thinking of, it looks like Prime Hazard.
the
If
one in
it's
Copa del Rey when he won. So yeah, I mean that was a big goal because he theoretically won it for us in extra time, and yeah, that looked like a Prime Hazard kind of goal. But when you look at the whole story of it, Hazard just has not really shown up to much of the season for the most part, which I know has been heartbreaking for Chelsea fans to hear.
it is. I mean, we're I think a lot of people are, kind of like sad that he went, but we made our peace with it.
Mhm.
But I think if there's one player that every Chelsea fan loves, like there's no controversy, it's Eden Hazard. Like everybody just wants him to do well. Like we
Yeah.
don't care that he's not playing at Chelsea. We just want him to do well. And the fact that he hasn't been is like pretty heartbreaking that you would think like he's not even in the starting 11 for Real Madrid, really.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like not even just not in the starting 11, but even with, like last week, Benzema injured, Vinicius Junior, he had to miss a league game because of 5 yellow card accumulation. Even with them two missing, he still didn't start for us. So like, not only has he fallen out of the starting lineup, but he's fallen into like that 17th, 18th player, which is just bizarre for me because it was Hazard. But then again, he comes into the game and he'll have one play where it's like, okay, that's good, that's decent, but nothing insane. And then aside from that, like he'll be pretty quiet most of the game, which is it's crazy to think about, but
I
it's what
know.
happened, and it's sad, but it's the truth.
I know. I wonder, like, I really wonder what happened. I think from an outsider's perspective, maybe it was like the ankle. I know that he had like a lot of issues with it and that he's never like felt good, but maybe just playing in a different league and a different team, it just doesn't suit him. But I know that I could talk about Hazard for the entire stream, but I do want to make sure that we talk a lot about Real Madrid PSG.
Yes, yes.
So what would you say are Real Madrid's biggest strengths and weaknesses ahead of this match?
Main strengths are how well the team knows each other, how long they've been playing. Our backbone is the same team that won so many Champions Leagues. They have the experience, so that experience is another one of our strengths. We know how to approach these games, and I think the team has done a good job mixing that youth, the new players, the Vinicius Juniors, the Militaos, with the older, more experienced players. I think Alaba was a great signing because he came in right away, slotted into the team, brought his experience, and has not had any problems in defense. Which takes me to another one of their strengths. I think whenever they're all focused and every single player is really into the game, like they feel like they're contributing to something, they feel like they're part of the team, and then they start to form a really, really strong defensive block that is not easy to break down. We tend to not concede as many of those stupid goals that we kind of gift. They do happen here and there, but I think that's going to be one of our main strengths that we're going to need for this game, which is to come out super focused, not make stupid mistakes, which is easy to say, but a lot of teams struggle to do that. And I think this season is one of those teams that has that in them. With that being said, when we move to the weaknesses, offensively, if Vinicius Junior is quiet and Benzema is, not having his best of games, the team struggles so much to score. So being clinical, I think, is one of our weaknesses. We create a lot of chances, but we don't score them. This weekend,
It
this
sounds
Saturday,
familiar.
Yeah, a lot of teams tend to have similar struggles, but yeah, like I was saying, this weekend against Villarreal, one of the top teams in Spain right now in terms of form, we walked all over them. We really did. That second half, we walked all over them. We created 4, 5 clear chances and hit the crossbar twice, and the rest were just saved. So we were not able to kind of display on the scoreboard what we've really done. However, there's also games whenever we play bad and yet we end up winning. So it's that inconsistency of you never know which side of Madrid you're going to get. Is it going to be the clinical one? Is it going to be one that like controls the game, or is it going to be one that is kind of like on the ropes most of the games, and then they still pull through somehow?
It really feels like you could be talking about Chelsea right now because we have the exact same problem. If you were to say there's one thing that Real Madrid has to do in order to win this game, or it's important that X player shows up, what or who would it be? I'm putting you
Vinicius
on the
Jr.
spot.
He's
Vinicius Jr.
he's been the difference maker this whole season. Games that we have won have been because Vinicius Jr. showed up, and he's the only player right now in this team that really has that, like, he can flip the switch. There's players like Benzema, consistent player, Modric, consistent player, but none of them have that flair anymore to, I mean, and they could, right? They could. But Vinicius Jr. is that one that can really bring the difference maker, like that dribble that can win you a penalty, or that dribble that can get you an assist afterwards or something. If Vinicius Jr. shows up to the game and he actually starts taking a game to those defenders and driving them crazy, then Madrid will have a lot better chances of danger.
Nice. I personally, as an outsider, like I don't watch either team religiously,
Right.
but I feel like Real Madrid can win it. I really do. I don't think that PSG have been at their strongest. I don't think their defense has been fantastic this season. So if Real Madrid can show up tomorrow, I think that they could win this first leg, even though it's away at Paris, which is another factor to take into consideration. But I feel like they have a slight edge.
They do. I mean, PSG has shown a lot of defensive weakness this season, right? And in the whole idea of the team, PSG themselves not being the most um like the dressing room not being super close. You always hear like, oh, they're bickering and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You're like, well, if Madrid is able to get the better edge of them and kind of get the team to start eating each other from the inside out, then that's going to be your best bet. Get in their heads, play with their own fear, because they're the ones that are like trying to win the Champions League so desperately. You can play with that. Madrid, they're not. I mean, if they win this game, if they win the tie, all more to them. But we also have that sense of like, well, if we were to be eliminated, it's not the end of the world for us, honestly. Like, it's still another one of our transition seasons. We're still doing really good in La Liga. Mbappe is still, potentially going to come. So it's like, well, we know we still have things to look forward to, and this tie is not the end all be all. However, it feels like for PSG it is, because this might be the last season with Mbappe. Neymar's form seems to be kind of declining, and then there's obviously Messi, whose form is not going to get any better. So for PSG, it's kind of like, okay, we have to win, and that can come with a lot of nerves, especially when you play in Paris too. So it's going to be really interesting psychologically. It's a very psychological game, in my opinion.
I tell you, like, I'm so glad that I'm not a professional footballer, because I would never be able to deal with that pressure. Like, I get nervous just watching the games, and I could not imagine. What's your score prediction for this match before we close out?
I mean, it's going to be a really close game. Both teams are going to have their moments, and obviously it's going to come down to who can be the most clinical. Ideally, even with a tie, I would not be mad, especially if we tie with a goal. If it's like a 2-2 draw, that's amazing. If it's a 1-1 draw, I'll take that. I think PSG has enough firepower to score a goal. So I'm gonna go for a 1-1 tie. I think a 1-1 is probably what I would be happy with, but at the same time be, with being a good result for Madrid, and at the same time it's realistic score. So let's go for a 1-1 draw.
Nice. I think I'm gonna predict a 2-1 win for Madrid. I don't know why. I'm just gonna predict it. I could be totally wrong. I feel like it's one of those games that's so hard to predict as well, because it could be like really high scoring, like you said, and be like a 2-2, or maybe it's just like super tied and nobody nobody wants to kind of like open up, and so you just don't know which way it's going to go. But I'd like to predict a win since I'm a neutral fan as well. So
No, please do. I mean, and you probably know how it's like whenever you're trying to predict like a big game for Chelsea, you kind of want to stay a little more on like the safer side, which I feel like is the 1-1. But shoot, I mean, a 2-1 win for Madrid, I would absolutely lose my mind. Which is, if you guys want to see a live reaction to that, make sure you subscribe for that. But it's going to be a game of respect. If they show a lot of respect, if both teams show a lot of respect to each other, it's going to be a low scoring game. But if both teams go out there like, I hate you, like I'm about to show you who's the best, then it can start to become really high scoring real fast.
Yep. I'm very excited for this game. I think this is the game I'm most excited about as a neutral fan to watch. So yeah. Rodrigo, thank you so much for coming on my channel. It was so freaking nice to get to chat to you again and pick your brain ahead of this massive match. I really appreciate you waking up so early as well. Thank you. Thank you. But let everybody know where they can find you.
Yes, guys. I mean, as you can see, hopefully on the screen, El Merengue Culé, if you just type that into the YouTube, our account should show up. We also have a Twitter account that we post here and there. Once again, just look up El Merengue Culé. I think the actual handle is El Merengue Culé _ something like that. I don't have it fully memorized sometimes because of different times, all these different handles. But yeah, just look us up and you should be able to find us. And subscribe. Go check out a few of our channels. We have a lot of live reaction videos. That's kind of like where the channel has shifted itself to, rather than as much analysis. However, for the PSG game, I do want to drop a pregame too, or even my predictions for the whole of the Champions League round of 16. So make sure you go check out our channel, like, subscribe, all the good stuff.
Yes, guys, you know that I'm always pushing that. So definitely make sure to check it out. I'll put the info in the description. So definitely subscribe, especially because lots of Champions League content is coming up. If you guys aren't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. We're so close to 11K. It's ridiculous. And that sounds like a very weird number, but I have been in the 10Ks for what seems like forever. So 11K would be pretty freaking cool. So try to make sure to subscribe if you liked this video, if you like this content, drop it a like as well, and let me know what you thought about this match preview. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, that's all I've got. Let's see what tomorrow's game will hold. Bye, guys.